It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 16th of February. Oh, excuse me, 15th. Let me try that again. The 16th of January, 2026. Okay, I was busy in sending stuffing out here. Okay, John, and I think I sent it to the group text, but I sent you the thing, story on Yahoo News. Can I just read you the first part of this?
Yeah, the Candace Owens thing, right?
Candace Owens has been aggressively pushing conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk's death since he was killed last September. But what she said on the latest episode of her podcast might be the nuttiest yet, and it involves cats, X-Men, time travel, and a secret CIA program, of course. And she goes into the thing that, like I said, she goes into the thing that he's a time traveler. And it's just bizarre, weird stuff. It's just weird. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, anybody that comes out and says that, I mean, from the beginning, she was saying that Charlie Kirk was killed by the Jews. Wasn't that her line?
It's so weird. Everything she says is weird. I mean, it's to the point where it's like, and to the point where there are now people just saying, okay, we get it what she's up to. She's just up to getting clicks. She's just up to...
and that could be. And Brad, remind me, we were going to talk about something in C Block from Kansas City, right?
Yes, and I'm trying to load it right now, and my phone is running very slow. So why don't you take the lead on this? I know what it's about, the AI musician stuff, and this is from your favorite source of KCUR in Kansas City, which is the sister station of St. Louis Public Radio, KWMU here in St. Louis, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I have a link up today. Ordinarily, I wouldn't link to something that was about Kansas City musicians, but they're calling for legislation, and I think that chances are good someone in the Missouri legislature will pick this up and decide that they need to weigh in on this too. The headline from KCUR is, Kansas City musicians demand regulations on AI content. Quote, if we cherish art, we cherish people. So Steve Kraske, who hosts Up to Date, had some musicians come in and talk about how much they dislike artificial intelligence created music and how platforms like Spotify and others are doing listeners a disservice by playing AI music. This is Brad bait right here, because as someone who's been around radio for 50 plus years, and even though you claim to not be a music guy, you do know a lot about music, and you do know a lot about creating AI jingles.
John, I'm working on a project right now, which I can't really divulge because it's not done. But when it's done, you will either think this is the weirdest thing that I've ever done, or you think it's the smartest thing I've ever done.
It can't be weirder than your idea to have a music station that's all radio jingles.
Well,
it can't be stranger than the idea that you've already talked about publicly that you forgot you talked about publicly, which is having an all jingle station.
No, not a jingle station. Just like I did the Westplex songs, we would play nothing but songs that were about advertisers. It would be like, like Mike McGee, Edward Jones. He's the guy that's going to, make you live forever as far as your finances are concerned.
Are you ready for retirement? Is your retirement fun? I'm your fun financial advisor, Mike McGee. Now, I hope you spell his name correctly. Now, Brad, you do remember that you've mentioned this many times on the show, right?
What's that?
The project that you're working on for an all AI station.
Well, actually, I worked on it this week. And matter of fact,
I believe you, but I'm just saying this isn't anything new because you've gone into detail on the show before.
Okay, here's part of the problem. Okay. As a radio broadcaster, okay, we used to have 3 entities that we had to pay money to play music, okay? ASCAP.
Is this a Candace Owens Jew thing, Brad? Are you going to say the Jews?
No, ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. Now there's a 4th one, GMR, okay? And the interesting part of this is there's a misconception. We pay these royalties fees. The royalties don't go to the musicians unless the musicians wrote the song. For example, the ASCAP stands for American Society of Composers, Artists and composers, artists, and producers, I believe it was. Okay, so it mentions artists. Okay, most of the money, and if you go down to Nashville, the people that have the biggest Nashville mansions are not, for the most part, the singers, the people you see on TV and hear on the radio and WIL and stuff like that and watch on YouTube videos. the people who have the biggest mansions are the writers. And they sit
and
around.
That's the way it should be, right?
Well, and what they do is they get royalties every time a song is played on the radio, every time it's played on Spotify. And now the government, there's a bill pending, and good old, Mr. Tongue from Kiss is pushing this. He wants to put in another category, whereas we playing music on the radio, essentially we would have to pay the artists as well too. So in other words, not only would we have to pay 4 different rights fees, we have to pay the artists as well too. Okay, now my point on this has always been, don't get me going on this, because there's a law that was put in effect back in the 50s called the Payola and Plugola law. And this was a law that was put into effect partly because of guys like Dick Clark. Back in the days, Dick Clark got a job at a radio station. He got paid 50 cents an hour. But what he did was he went out into the public and he said, hey, Mr. Restaurant owner, if you pay me $100 a day, I'll tell everybody how great your steaks are. And the restaurant owner says, well, that's a great deal. Here's $100, Dick Clark. And then he went to the local record store and he said, hey, if I play this record every hour on the hour, will you give me some money so the sales of this record will go up? Oh, yes, Mr. DJ, here's money. Okay, so they put the laws in it so we can't do that anymore, okay? Advertisers pay to be on this radio station. They pay us. That's how we make our money, by playing ads. I say get rid of the Payola and Plugola laws, and we say to the record companies, hey, you want your Taylor Swift song played on a radio station? $500 a week. Send to the check. Or we'll send you a link, and you can pay on PayPal. Get what I'm saying, John?
I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah, that's a great point from somebody who's been in the industry a long time. Can we get back to the AI story?
The problem with this is what's the horses out of the barn. There's nothing going to happen with this. And this is a perfect example of, it's sort of funny because of the fact that in so many different industries, what's happened, technology, automation, computers and things like that have eliminated so many jobs. Is it sad that these musicians can't make them anymore? I'm not saying they're not making any money anymore. But if you go back in history, and this is the interesting part of it is, when you go into a store, there used to be, if you went to, I don't know if you've ever gone to the old, when Nordstrom first opened up. Did you go to Nordstrom years ago when it first opened up there in West County? You ever been in there?
Yeah, I used to get stuff from there at the West County Mall back when I used to go to malls, yeah.
Do you remember the guy that sat there and played piano?
I don't remember that. No.
Yeah, they had a big piano. They had at both the Nordstroms. That was one of their hallmarks. They had a guy who sat there. They had a big, I think it was a Steinway, a big piano there. I think it was on the first floor. And the guy played music. Okay, you go back 100 years ago, and there was for the most part, no electronic reproduction of music. There was no tape recorders or anything like that. And when you had an event, you hired a band. You hired a quartet. If you were like uppity and you had a place in a Ladue, you hired a string quartet that came in and played music for your party and things like that. Okay, well, guess what? Now you don't have that anymore because of the fact that somebody's got a CD player or somebody turns on, pulls, or what happens sometimes. Matter of fact, I have a family member. You want to hear a funny story, John?
Yeah, please do.
I have a family member that works for a company. And at one point in time, this family member contacted me and was laughing and said, hey, I've got to ask you something. And I said, go ahead. And they go, you used to spin records at parties and weddings and things like that. I said, yes, I've done that. And she says to me, my work wants to know if you'll come and spin records at our Christmas party for free. And I said, for free? You want me to drag my equipment and spend 5 hours or 4 or 5 hours playing music at a party, at a Christmas party? Yes, because they have no budget. And last year's party was a dud because they just had somebody's iPhone on shuffle, and that was the music. And matter of fact, they had the iPhone on stage in front of a microphone, which made it even worse.
Oh, very nice. So they thought, wait a minute, did they think you would be an upgrade from an iPhone?
I guess they did.
Oh, so wow. That's enlightening.
My point being is technology has eliminated a lot of musicians' jobs. And unfortunately, the Suno thing, which I use all the time, and quite honestly, I am amazed at how good it's getting. It's on version 4.5. I did some stuff this week. There's one song I did. I'm thinking to myself, OMG, this could be a top 40 This could be on the Billboard Hot 100. I'm not kidding. It's that good. It's that good. I have people compliment me when they figure out that my songs in Westplex 107.1 were done by AI. They're the Westplex 107.1. We play the songs in here. I have every once in a while someone will say to me, I was listening to your station the other day and I heard this song came on, and I'm thinking to myself, this song's about the radio station. How did he get those people to sing about the radio station? I go, it's AI. And they go, oh.
It's really, so first of all, I think they're all good quality. And I think some of them are certified bangers. Imagine, and I've mentioned this before, and I don't want to get too down in this rabbit hole, and I'm not critical of you, Brad. But if you put any effort into the lyrics, imagine how good it would be if you put effort into if you made the lyrics made sense. You definitely wouldn't be able to tell that it was written by AI. Well, so let's go back to this AI. Let's go back to this AI point, Brad, originally, which is why I brought this up. The KCUR story says that a local artist is really upset that Spotify is playing AI. And this local artist is going to teach Spotify a lesson by taking his music off Spotify. So can you imagine working at Spotify today and reading the media clips and saying some guy in Kansas City named Jamoji, which is actually his name, Jamoji is going to take his music off your platform because he doesn't like that you have AI music on your platform? Do you just laugh or do you cry?
It's sad. And the interesting part of it is if you get into one of the more advanced levels of Suno, and this is really taken off with musicians, where musicians can upload tracks that they've done, essentially like somebody who's like a guitarist or something like that, or even a singer, they can upload tracks they've already done, and then Suno will give them other tracks where they're mixing a song, which is partial AI and partial real artist generated. I've heard some of these things, and some of these are incredible. These are songwriters who've written their own music, written their own lyrics and things like that, and they're using they're using Suno to complete it like a demo kind of thing, and they are just really incredible. So you can't totally dismiss, AI, because that way a musician who is sitting in his house, who, maybe he's a guitarist, maybe he's got a little electric piano or whatever, keyboardist, stuff like that, he can turn out a complete thing where he writes the song, he embellishes it with the various aspects of Suno, and turns out an incredible song. So there's two sides of the equation, John. Get what I'm saying?
I get it. And I love there was a remix that a Cryo Freeze company did. They remixed the Hotworks ad.
I'm trying to get him back on the air. I'll see him today. Matter of fact, I go to my meeting this morning.
I missed that ad, Brad. Yeah. There were nonsense lyrics, and I don't know why you have 24 hours to compete and what that has to do with infrared. But that was a pretty good bop that you had on there.
John, go to any popular song, pull up the lyrics of a Taylor Swift song, and tell me how much sense those make. Okay, go.
I loved playing that clip for my daughters especially, and they could not believe that you compared The Fate of Ophelia to one of your AI slop songs.
John,
and I didn't even ask Agnes or Nina Needlepoint what they thought yet, but I have a pretty good idea of what they would say.
It's so interesting. There's now a hit out for me from the Needleman Mafia, where Nina is after me because she's mad at me now. So, and it's all your fault.
She's so mad that she changed her personal finance website to the Personal Finance Screamer. It's not Personal Finance Whisperer anymore. It's Personal Finance Screamer.
John, say goodbye.
See you Monday, Brad.